I was intrigued by what you said that you had written like a 300-page book on colors and genetics and stuff like that.
Yes.
How come you never went through and even did like a publishing through Amazon or something like that? That'd be a pretty cool read.
Well, I still have it, and I went through, got a copyright on it, and I put it out on Facebook, and multiple people didn't want to buy it because, first off, it cost too much,
Yeah.
and second, they wanted it hardback. And I
Hmm.
had made it full of color pictures, which costs about $1.75 a page, and unless I ordered in huge quantities, it was going to be very expensive.
Uh,
So I haven't really publicized it a little bit. I'll make it available to some people, and I've actually found a place that can do the cost considerably cheaper. So I'm looking at doing that. But I talked to them this week, but I need to edit a couple things like your front page, back page, the covers, and the spine have to be one PDF, and mine are all one PDF. And then I also included some supplemental copyrighted articles in that book, and they start with their own page numbers. So if I'm going to put it in a book, I need to change the page numbers so that it goes from 1 to 300, not 1 to 300, and then 1 to 10, 1 to 10. So that's how it is right now. But it's really about, I started breeding birds in the 70s just for the colors and to understand how it worked. And then over the years, I've learned how it works as far as the genetics. And so I took a lot of pictures, and there's lots of references in the book. Lots. There's probably 1,500 references.
oh.
And the references are for other articles in the old APJs concerning a certain color or other books. There's all kinds of references. And that's what makes the book really good is there's a huge amount of references that you can find other information about, specifically pigeon color on the plumage.
And so how is that different than kind of breeding towards a type if you're just breeding for color? Are there certain, I know there's recessives and things like that. Like what would be the big difference?
Well, there's two big differences on colors. So you have colors, and then you have colors that modify the color. For instance, you can have an ash red bird, and there's only three main colors in pigeons: ash red, blue, and brown. But if you put 2 doses of recessive red, so one parent carries recessive red, another parent carries recessive red, breed them together to get a baby. It has 2 doses of recessive red, and the baby turns out completely red and masks whatever colors underneath it. So recessive red is like a modifying. It modifies the colors, but it's actually masking. The ash red, blue, or brown are still there. They're just underneath the recessive red. And pattern works the same way. So the next thing a person needs to understand is 2 kinds of genes on the chromosomes. One are called sex-linked genes, and then other ones are autosomal genes. And a pigeon gets 2 autosomal genes. For instance, pattern. A young bird gets one pattern from his mom, one pattern from his dad, regardless of what the youngster's sex is. But on a sex-linked gene, the mother can give the baby 1 gene, not 2, not a combination of 2, only 1. And then the male has 2 sex-linked genes, and so one of those 2 genes can give into the baby. So there's a couple of combinations there from the father. So once you understand about sex-linked genes, then it's really easy to know what your babies are going to be. For instance, if you have ash red hen and blue cock, the blue can't be ash red because it would cover up the blue. The blue cock has blue and blue or a blue and brown chromosome, gene on a chromosome, where the hen is red. So her babies, she's going to give a red, ash red gene, and the father can give the blue gene. And so the baby cocks are going to be ash red, and they will carry blue. But you'll see it as ash red. But usually when they also have blue on them, then they're heavy flecked, or even a little bit flecked, but they're going to be flecked. Where if it's an ash red that both parents were ash red, the baby's going to have a lot less flecking or none at all.
Interesting. And
so once you can learn about the sex link and the autosomal, it all really becomes a lot easier. That's the step right there.
Okay.
I've got some stuff in an email that I could send to you, down the road in a day or two or something to.
If you have anything that you could send, we'll definitely put it up like on our social media too, to kind of go along with the release of the podcast, so people can follow along with it. But that'd be, especially if when the time comes and you get your book available more, we definitely like to share that. I mean, especially genetics. That's such a
I like it. I really like doing it.
Yeah.
I breed more birds for color genetics to learn how they work than I really do to make them show type birds. Even though I have some good show type birds, I have much more genetic projects in my lawn. And the big one I've been studying is spread, the gene called spread, which makes a blue pigeon black. And I've been studying that one since I think 1998. And I've come up with every combination I could figure out to see what's going on with that gene. And I pretty much have a good handle on it, but I don't think I could explain everything in a real short period of time. Because there's a lot of things I've learned.
Yeah, like you're saying, the combination, that's where it gets really crazy, because there are so many different combinations that you can play with. What was kind of your favorite of color and pattern when you were doing, because you said your passes with show type racing homers? What were some of the colors that you were trying to get on those guys?
It wasn't that I was trying to get colors, it was I was trying to understand how some of the colors work and to verify. So, but I will tell you, my favorite color is reduced. I love the color reduced. If you put it on a black checker, you can get some really cool colors. And I could send you a picture of those too. Yeah. I love the reduced. I just think they're a good pastel color. They're just pretty. Yeah. But I like a good white too. And there's multiple genes that cause white. And so that can be complex if you're studying white. Just like bronzes, there's multiple bronzes. But I'll give you one little hint. I've got a couple birds out there that have amazing color. And people say, man, how did you do that? And I'm going to tell you, they came from Lebanon pigeons. The Lebanon bronze really increased the intensity of the colors.
Really, the Lebanon, huh?
Yeah. And I got some birds from Falcon Loss. They're on the internet. He's not there anymore, but you can still find it. He had some amazing colors on his website. Amazing stuff. Another one that's real interesting is when you get toy stencil, frill stencil, red, you can get some really neat looking birds too.
Yeah, that is a really cool pattern. I like that on a lot of birds.
Yeah. Another combination that I just have worked with the last 3 years, first time ever in the last 3 years, is recessive opal. And I got a baby out there. It's just beautiful. They're kind of black, but they're not black, and they get some gray in them, and they're really striking looking.
Yeah, definitely want to see some of the pictures. If you could send those over, we'll put them up on our Facebook too and stuff.
I have another strain of birds that actually came from England. I can't remember his first name, but his name's McClary. He lives, I think, in Australia now. He had British show racers, which are just a lot like show type homers, but they're a little bit bigger, a little bit longer. Boy, does he have good patterns on his birds. Some of the best patterns I've ever seen on homers. They're just consistently, just hands down, great check birds.
All right, well, I'm going to open this. Hello and welcome to the All About Pigeons podcast. I'm Phil. Chris is out working right now, and he might come in later tonight. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Today we have with us the chairman of the National Pigeon Association's Trust Fund, Mike Miles. Mike, thank you for coming on and talking with us.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And to talk with talking with you about these genetics and stuff is really neat. What kind of so show type racing homers, what are your current breeds of pigeons that you're working with right now?
In my coop, I've got some Mookies. I have one American show racer, probably 3 or 4 racing homers, and all the rest are show type racing homers.
What's up with the one American show racer? What's your plans with one bird?
It had recessive opal in it, which I have never used or had in my loft, and I got it from Kent Wright in Utah. And I'm crossing it into my show types to come up with just another unique color that's not in the show types. I've never seen it in the show type, and I've had the show type homer since 1989.
Okay. And you were a master breeder through the Utah Pigeon Club for that type of breed, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I've never applied for the national because I don't know if I might qualify, but I've never won the national champion. I won a national champion in this breed, but it wasn't held at the same time as N.P.A national. And there was 138 birds, and I took a champion, so it's a good win.
Yeah, it is.
And I was at Amarillo in 2020, and there was only 27 birds. So I've won some good stuff. I have won a reserve champion at an N.P.A show at the N.P.A national, and I've won about 20 champions total. Most of them in shows. Well, I've shown in Idaho and Utah and 8 N.P.A nationals.
Will you be going to the nationals is it January, February up in Kentucky?
Yeah, right now my plan is not to, but people are trying to convince me to go. So I am planning in 2 years for sure. I just don't know yet if I'm getting.
I did see. I didn't get a chance to see all the different results from the pageant. Didn't John DeCarlo Sr., didn't he get like 3 places on that?
I don't know. I haven't seen the results on that. In fact, I haven't even seen the results on the Utah Pigeon Club. Usually they have it on the website, but I haven't looked yet to see if it's out there. I do. The one thing that's really unique about the Utah Pigeon Club is they'll put their show report on the website, so you can see their show report. Well, some show reports are too big to do that, but pretty easy to go about looking at the show reports at the Utah Pigeon Club shows.
Yeah, definitely. And you were saying before too that, I mean, your guys' club seems like it's doing pretty good. You got a pretty good list of members on there.
Yeah, they have a good list of members. And like I said, I'm not sure how many they have, but one of the things that's really got going for them right now is Josh Zillis. He's a N.P.A director, but he runs that show, and he does an awesome job. He puts a ton of energy into it and really decorates it well. It's well organized. It's a really nice show to go to because it's decorated nice, and we're always over 1,000 pigeons, so it's a medium to large show, and it's run well.
Yeah. Can you explain to us and all the listeners what is the trust fund that the N.P.A runs?
Oh, that's what I want to talk about. So it's called the N.P.A Legacy Fund Trust. Okay. It was created in around 2011. I don't know the exact date, and I should know that since I'm the chairman. I've only been the chairman for going on. This will be my second year, and end of December will be 2 complete years. So I know how it runs now. The simple thing is we take donations. We take those donations. We invest those donations. We never spend the principal money that's sent to us. It all goes into investments. Then the investments make dividends and interest. We turn around and use those dividends and interest to help fund pigeon projects. That's as simple as I can get it.
Yeah,
we help the N.P.A and we help other clubs. All you have to do is you have to fill out some paperwork, and sometimes it's a little annoying, but if you're willing to do the paperwork, there's money there every year.
That's what I like. I mean, when you sent me that list of all the different things that the trust fund has really helped with, and it's cool how, what is it, the Hawaiian Pigeon Association for cages and tables, banner made for the Idaho State. So I mean, this is like going directly to small pigeon clubs, and it's helping in a real way. It's not just hey, we're helping ourselves and we talk about you, so we're kind of helping you. Like, you're literally sending these other clubs money and helping the club and helping the hobby, which I think is great.
And the great thing about this trust is that most of the people, and I don't know the percentage, but it's in the high 90%, most of the people have been people that breed pigeons, have donated money to this trust. Mm-hmm. This trust turns around and gives money back to clubs or projects, and it's money that they have invested and they're getting their investment back.
And really, there's really nothing else like there's the ARPU, and that's real specific for racers and stuff. But the N.P.A, you can be a racer guy, you can be a roller guy, a fancy bird guy. It doesn't matter. Like, this encompasses all. It's the national organization for pigeon fanciers, and
Yes.
and this is a big part of it right here.
Let me add a couple more items,
Yeah.
so that people know. So when this was started, it started, I'll call it a daughter organization of the N.P.A. It is a program of the National Pigeon Association. 2, it was approved by the IRS, and in the state of Utah, where I'm chairman, it is registered in the state of Utah, and you can go onto their website and actually see what we call a 990 form and see how we spend our money each year. So it's publicly allowed to see it. Now, for security reasons, we don't go into details of where and how and what we buy for investments, even though we'll talk to a person individually about it. But we are required by law to send a report to the state of Utah, and those same reports go to the N.P.A. and becomes part of their IRS tax filings at the end of every year. So when it was created under the rules of the IRS, and they made us a 501c5. The difference between a 501c5 and a C3 is that you donate money to us, you cannot write it off on your taxes. It's a great program. I don't think we advertise it enough.
I honestly never knew about it until you reached out to me. So,
and it's been going since 2011.
Yeah, and I spend a lot of time on the N.P.A.'s website and different things like that too, and I've never come across it.
It's there. I'll find it. I'll send you an email after the show, probably tomorrow, and show you where to look and stuff. Okay.
Yeah, and definitely send a link where people can have the option to donate to it as well. The one of the projects that you helped the guys with, or helped the N.P.A. with, was that DVD program that they had running for.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Do you know much about that?
I don't know much about it, but I actually have a copy of the CD. Okay. And maybe a year or so ago, Tim, the N.P.A. secretary, said that there were still some available, and you just pay the shipping, they give it to you free. And the CD just talks about the pigeon hobby. Okay. And so they wanted to make the CD, and the trust was able to come up with some money to help fund it.
Okay, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, because because it's free.
Yes,
you just pay for the shipping. Yeah, so and if you're already placing an order, getting your bands or something like that, it'd be a good thing to pick up, because it actually talks like, hey, if your city's ever passing bans or ordinances or anything like that, this would be a good way to present it. It's already laid out in a really good way.
Good. Now, another thing very few people know about some of the things the trust has been doing is we've been trying to work with other organizations. And there's one I want to mention, and that's Jim Jenner. And if you know Jim, he's made all those videos about pigeons. Mm-hmm. And so he's got some good videos about pigeons. And we tried to make a project last year, and it fell through. But I think we're still going to do something in the future. Because the trust, we have money available, and we're coming up with some very unique ideas. We just haven't publicized them all yet. So, and I'll tell you one idea. One idea is the N.P.A. back in the 1950s, early 50s, they made a genetic booklet. We would like to get that updated and have the trust pay for it and make it available as cheap as we can to pigeon fanciers. And it's a little tiny booklet just about pigeon genetics. So
that's definitely something you never can stop learning about. I mean, that'd be a good one.
And another one. So on that list I gave you, there's a organization called Camp Carver. It's in Kansas, and I can't remember John's last name right now, but John runs it. But he does white bird releases and and makes money off of it. He's a 501c3 organization, and the money that they make off white bird releases, like at funerals and weddings and things like that, he puts into his organization, and his organization teaches young kids about agriculture, tries to help them get scholarships in the agricultural field.
That's cool.
And so Camp Carver hasn't been publicized because it's not linked to the N.P.A., but I'm hoping to have a story on it in the future. But that, I actually think it's a very cool project. So we were able to get him a GoPro and a bunch of magazines for the kids and some books on pigeons. And he's promised me he's going to get me some video on some pigeons. And I saw one of your podcasts that showed some birds in slow motion, and I would love to get some video like that. That was way cool.
Yeah. No, whenever I release my birds, I always like doing the slow. You get more enjoyment, man, because when they take off, they are out of there. And so you slow it down, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
You get to see a lot of like ins and outs with, from the national organization side to even working with some of these smaller clubs. How do you see the hobby right now? Do you see it in like a state of growth, or because you hear a lot of, we need to get young people, and I mean, like, your club seems to be doing good. The club that I'm a part of, the Arizona Pigeon Club, we've doubled our members just in this last year. It seems like it's really coming.
This question popped up in a board meeting, and Tim Heinrich was there, and he mentioned that we had as many members as we've had the prior couple of years, and there's probably 1,500, probably 2,000 members, and probably 1,500 of them are members, and maybe up to 500 are kids, or kids under 18. I don't think the hobby is growing substantially. I think it is more or less kind of staying the same as far as numbers, but the average age is probably a little bit older. It's easier to take care of pigeons when you're retired. Kids have a lot of time on computers for both schoolwork as well as gaming a lot, and so I don't think pigeons grow as the pigeon hobby grows as much as it used to. But I think it's actually very stable. I think the Utah Pigeon Club has increased its membership or stayed the same, but have been very much more active in the last 5 years.
Okay.
Definitely, our club, people become more active at the shows. People love showing. That's what the fancy pigeons is all about. Is I want more shows. Yeah. That's what people say. They want more shows.
Yeah.
And one of the things that people chase is a trophy, or they want to get enough points to get a master breeder certificate sometime in their life.
Yep, that's right. One of the things I've noticed is, especially with a lot of the new members in our club, and even on like some of the social media platforms, I see this a lot, but a lot of these new pigeon people that are coming in are taking pigeons as pets, house pets. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily a big breeder loft. They might have a couple of pigeons in their house, but that seems to be a whole new kind of section offshoot of the hobby, which is interesting. And it's good.
I could maybe handle one bird in my house, but they get a little, I don't want pigeon poop flying around my house, and they do get a little dander on them.
Yeah.
And so one would be fine. I would probably bathe it a minimum of once a week.
Yeah.
And you could probably really tame him. I had one bird that was sick a couple of years ago. Brought him in the house during the winter and hand fed him forever and ever. And then he lived for about a year and still didn't make it. But because I was hand feeding him, he wouldn't eat on his own after that. I'm like, come on, guy. And so he got too tame at that point.
No, we have a house pigeon. It's a Central Asian tumbler. And that thing is about as tame as, it is a total pet. I'll take it outside, and, he'll fly up in the air, and he comes back down, and, he'll hang out, and, we got a perch up in the living room for him to hang out while we're watching a movie or something. And they definitely make good pets, and they're a lot cheaper than buying some $2,000 parrot. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Parrots are very expensive. They are expensive. However, you can look at a expensive racing home and pay a couple $100,000.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's what I need to get. I need to get me one of the $1 million pigeons in here for my house pet. That would be really good.
Yeah. Well, if you have enough money, you get to spend it.
With the you being on the board with the N.P.A.
No, wait a minute. Let me stop.
Sorry. Yeah.
So there's a board for the N.P.A. that we have no dealings with. They don't tell us anything that's going on. But we have a board for the trust itself. When we get money from the trust, then we tell them how much is available, and they're the ones that vote on which projects are going to be funded for.
Ah, okay. Would you say that most states have a state club?
I would say no, but I could be wrong. But you could easily look in the, if you remember the N.P.A, they sent out a magazine, and once or twice a year they put the membership.
Oh, that's right, in the back, yeah.
In the back, I have to use that all the time. And affiliated clubs, there's quite a few. I'm looking at the page right now. There's 2 full pages, but I can't say it's in every state. I don't know, but it's probably close if it isn't.
So if someone was trying to start a state club, an N.P.A affiliated state club, is that something that the fund would be able to help them with?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. I'm glad you asked that. It's because this is what our mission is. Our mission is to financially help support the N.P.A and the pigeon hobby. So that covers a lot of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and if you look at what we've done in the past, just the last 2 years, we funded Camp Carver. We did pigeon cages and tables. We did a trailer for the Utah Pigeon Club, help pay for some of that. We've done advertising in banners. A club back east that is looking at asking us for a bunch of money this next year to do advertising for their shows. So what I'm trying to say is it could be globally any kind of project that the N.P.A approves.
Right.
And it's meant to benefit the pigeon hobby and the N.P.A. Now, one thing I want to say is we actually have, what people don't know or recognize is that the Legacy Fund Trust has 3 pots of money. So one pot of money is if somebody says, we want you to help us invest our money, or we want you to help us pay for some cages down the road, and people are going to donate money to you, put it in this account, and then once we have enough, we pay it out. So we'll just save the money for them if they choose, and we can put it in a short-term CD or whatever they want. But so there's one pot of money for projects only. There's that are funded for special reasons, and those don't have to be approved by the N.P.A. But we can't use dividends and interest. It's only money that's specifically designated for that project. Second, there's money called undesignated money. That goes to donations. Those are donations. It goes into the investment. Only the dividends and interest are used to pay for projects, and those have to be approved by the N.P.A. Now, if the N.P.A does not use all of the money that year, we're required to do one of 2 things. We either reinvest that money, put it back into investments, or we're allowed to put it in our checking account and hold it to use for a future project that the Legacy Fund Board is allowed to vote on. And then the third set of money, a savings account. So depending on how a person writes their check out for the donation, depends on which pot of money goes into. But if they don't write anything, a note to us, we automatically put it into investments because that's where we always assume it's going to go. So I wanted to mention that because in a couple of these cases, the N.P.A board doesn't vote on how the money is used, but they definitely vote for all the big projects. We only usually have a little bit of money left over to fund small projects that we can vote on and do. And one of those this year was there was some money left over that nobody requested funds for, so we paid for a banner for the Idaho State Fair. And it's an N.P.A banner advertising the N.P.A at a state fair.
Excellent. The Arizona Pigeon Club actually used to kind of steward the show for the Arizona State Fair, and then interest fell away a few years ago, and now the interest has really come back in a big way, and even some individual specialty breeds clubs, with the Arizona Pigeon Club, we're talking about getting it going again back at the fair. Even that, county fairs, state fairs, it doesn't always have to be shows that the club puts on. It's all good for the pigeon hobby. Right. Out there with the shows. I mean, like you're saying, everybody likes going to the shows. And
our county fair is not supported very well, I don't think, in Utah. Not as well as I think it could be, but we do have a young bird show. Usually, I think it's in July, and that's well attended. And then they have a show that they started up the last couple of years in in Ogden, which is north of Salt Lake, and it's just been going a few years, and it's getting some interest. People are showing that. So people like showing birds. Fancy birds are all about showing. That's the big thing about fancy breeds.
Yeah, and it's all, yeah, I mean, especially when you go to a fair or something, because people go to the fair for a lot of reasons and usually kind of caught off guard by some of these different rare breeds when they see them.
Yeah, I wrote an article one time I've never published about the unique breeds. And to me, a unique breed is something that looks different than a homer. But a parlor roller or parlor tumbler, they might look a lot like just a regular roller, but they have a unique trait. But I think of Jacobins and Scandaroons and Fantails. They're very unique structure compared to a homer. I mean, or any of these breeds with big muffs. I mean, and the one, there's two amazing breeds in my mind that have benefited from breeders of becoming a great breed, and that's those domestic show flights. They've really made those really, really good. And then second is they've taken the English trumpeter from what it was to what it is now. They're powerful, they sit low, big muffs, big crests, short bodies. That's taken some real breeding skill to get those two breeds where they're at. And that's kudos. That's not what's just happened. Those were selected breedings to get them to the quality they're at right now.
Absolutely. I think another one would be the American show racer. I got some of these
I would
old.
agree with that. I would definitely agree with that.
Oh, I look at these old American pigeon journals from the 70s and 80s, and you look at those; they just look like a regular racing homer almost.
Yeah, right.
And now they're a totally different animal. They've really changed a lot of features on those breeds.
That's definitely one of the breeds that the competition is really tough at a national. That's a breed because there's some really good breeders in that breed.
Yeah, it's a pretty popular breed, I think, here in the States.
Yeah, it seems to be.
Ryan Bateman's going to come on and talk with us about the American Bohemian powder.
Every time I've been to his house one time, talked to him.
Oh, really?
I actually tried to get him on our board one time, and I guess he didn't have time with his job. But I always give him crap about the spot on the heads. I tell him, you need to get a washcloth and wash that spot off the top of their head.
Hey, if you can't breed it out, just make it the standard.
It is a neat breed. I really like it. That's a nice breed.
Yeah.
I don't know what the powder breed that Lane Gardner breeds, but it's a big, tall one. But it's a real pretty bird too. That's the real pretty one.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of work to really kind of get that breed back up and more well known, get a lot more people breeding that bird and showing that bird.
One of the things he's also done is he's really got the white bars in, I'm assuming opal or one of the stencils. I don't know. I haven't asked him about all the genetics, but some of his little powders have those white bars, and it's hard to get a good, clean white bar on a dark bird like that.
So, well, coming up against the clock here, and
okay,
I really appreciate you coming on and talking with us. Man, I kind of want to get into the genetic side of it again with you sometime. Because
let's set up another podcast in the future, and I'll set up some material beforehand.
Yeah, and
we can discuss it and talk about some of the pictures. And I'd love to just talk genetic for half hour, an hour. I like it.
Yeah, we can do the part 1, part 2, because I mean, it really, like I said, the combinations that you can play with, and it depends on what you're going for, of course. But learning about it. Yeah.
Part 1 and part 2 would be good because I'd send you the material. We could talk about part 1 and get people interested in the very basics and teach them the very basics. Then we could go into some of the color and how they're modified or masked or things like that. That would be outstanding to do.
Can you give us a website or anything that we can go to and learn more about the Legacy Trust Fund?
We are on the N.P.A website, and we're also listed in the N.P.A quarterly magazines. But you can call me at 801-259-8036. And I'm also listed usually in the front page of one of the quarterlies as one of the officers. I'm not an officer, but I'm an elected person. My email is mike_miles80@yahoo.com. So I'd go to the website of the N.P.A, which is npausa.com, or go, if you're a member, go to the N.P.A quarterly. I'm listed in there, as well as there's other trustees, and they can tell you about it as well.
Excellent. Well, yeah, like I've said this before, if any of our listeners aren't members of the N.P.A, get on it. It's one of those things, like I say, support those who support you, and there's really nothing else like the N.P.A as far as what they do for the actual members.
No, there's nothing. It's a national club. They create national standards. They have a brand new national standard book coming out.
Looking forward to getting that. Yeah, that's going to be a good book.
I have the latest, but I'm hoping to see what the new changes are.
Yeah, I guess there's quite a bit.
We're part of the N.P.A. We're not advertised as much as I'd like, and we've talked about that. We're gonna improve the advertising in the near future. I'm hoping to write a few more articles. They can call us anytime. I'm semi-retired, so I'm available.
Excellent. Mike, thanks again for coming on, and we'll look forward to seeing some of those pictures you send our way.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. I was glad to get on here and talk pigeons.
Always.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome. Thank you.